All right, what the hell just happened? Justin Trudeau is testifying on foreign interference, and he is accusing Pierre, or specifically the Conservative Party, of blatantly having ties with foreign interference, saying that they are corrupt, and he is swearing an oath by this. This is the largest and most impactful slander campaign, the most impactful attack on an opposition party that we have ever seen. This could very well change the tides of the next election. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. We got to break down what the hell Justin Trudeau is accusing Pierre of. Now, I don't have access to this information, right? Like the inside scoop. We're just going to be taking a look at the clips of what's going on. But if this is somehow true, and if the Conservative Party is or has ties, either they did or if they still currently do, by foreign interference, and obviously we have to take this seriously. But we're going to analyze what the hell Justin Trudeau is saying, because these are wild accusations that are coming out of nowhere. So buckle in, get your likes, and subscribe to the channel, because this is pretty freaking crazy here. Let's take a look at the first clip. This is fixing foreign meddling, not a one-day job, says the Prime Minister, and this is in response to Bill C-70.
For the break, that's okay.
Prime Minister, the second question I want to ask on that is it enough? One of the Bill C-70, obviously countering foreign interference, countering hostile activities of straight actors is an even broader term, but one of the criticisms we've heard is that the government has not done enough in this space and has not done enough to counter what is now a recognized threat. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think, first of all, I mean, I'd heard that criticism as well, or the frame that, well, since you had to, do C-70, obviously there was a mistake in the powers that CSIS or intelligence agencies didn't have before. You're correcting a mistake or an error or a shortcoming that existed before you corrected it. And I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. I think we are in a situation where the threats are constantly evolving, whether it's newer technologies, the advent of AI, the shifting and pervasive impact of social media in how people collect their news and understand the world around them, and the vulnerability to foreign interference and misinformation and disinformation that comes through that vector that wasn't the case even 10 years ago. The shifting geopolitics, where you have more assertive authoritarianisms, countries like Russia willing to invade a neighbor on the flimsiest of justifications, means that the world is changing in very real and dangerous ways that require us to step up. And at no point would I say that C-70 is enough and we can now sit back and coast on this for the next few decades because there will be no need to adjust and add more. That would simply be irresponsible. There is always going to be more work to do on ensuring that our agencies have the necessary tools to keep Canadians safe, while at the same time protecting the freedoms and rights of everyone in this country. And that is the constant, rigorous, responsible work that a government needs to do, to constantly questioning, well, what more can we do to keep Canadians safe given these new threats, given these new challenges? How is the best way to do it while upholding the democratic and fundamental values and freedoms that is important to Canada? That's a constant debate in which not just the government, but stakeholders, communities, and even opposition parties have, and all parliamentarians have, an essential role to play in. It shouldn't be about partisan disagreements, whether, or a basis for partisan attacks when it comes to the question of protecting Canada's citizens, its institutions, and its sovereignty. And the kinds of debates we were able to have around C70 and the kind of consensus that we had around getting it passed indicates that, to a certain extent at least, there is an understanding amongst parliamentarians that we shouldn't be politicizing or overly partisan in our approach on these issues of fundamental safety. We need to challenge, we need to make sure we're getting the balance right, and that different parties coming from different perspectives with substantive challenges to it is a really important piece of it. But my expectation is that there will pretty much always be, through the life of any parliament or over the coming decades, there will always be some sort of tweak or improvement or adjustment to our national security infrastructure that is being debated or looked at or legislated on or studied or reflected on an ongoing basis. Keeping Canadians safe is not a one-day job. It's a constant, regularly updated, foundational priority for every government every single day. And it'll come together in certain pieces of legislation. But there's always going to be more to do, and that is the work that government continues to do.
So you got to take everything he's saying with a grain of salt. He is the prime minister. He is the current government. He's the one that has access to all of these names. He hasn't released any. And then in the video we're just about to watch right now, he accuses, says that he has a list of conservatives vulnerable to foreign interference. Kind of crazy.
I have the names of a number of parliamentarians, former parliamentarians and or candidates in the Conservative Party of Canada who are engaged or at high risk of, or for whom there is clear intelligence around foreign interference. And I have directed CSIS and others to try and inform the Conservative Party leader to be warned and armed to be able to make decisions that protect the integrity of that party, of its members, from attempts at activities around foreign interference.
Okay, so far, the media is spinning this in a wild way. Trudeau is saying that there's not that the Conservatives are complicit in foreign interference, but that there's Conservative MPs that are being targeted for the goal of foreign interference. So they are victims of foreign interference, right? Like this is a wild spin, man. This is why you got to pay attention to this stuff. This is why you subscribe to this channel, because as we're watching these videos, we're finding out it's not that Pierre and the Conservatives have participated in foreign interference. It seems to be more that they are being targeted for, conducting foreign interference, but they're going through the proper chains of, working with CSIS and the Prime Minister and the resources that are available to, not fall victim of that.
And the decision by the leader of the Conservative Party to not get those classified briefings means that nobody in his party, not him, nobody in a position of power knows the names of these individuals and can take appropriate action. It also means nobody's there to stand up for those individuals if the intelligence is shoddy or incomplete or just allegations from a single source. And that is something that, as you've seen, we are ready to question intelligence when it comes towards the Liberal Party members, because we need to make sure if you're going to end someone's career, you're doing it in a responsible way. The decision of the leader of the Conservative Party to not receive the necessary clearance to get those names and protect the integrity of his party is bewildering to me and entirely lacks common sense.
He's using Pierre's words against him. So this seems factually incorrect. Again, like, I'm not doubting that, you know, conservatives have been targeted by foreign interference. It feels like Canada is just a place where this kind of happens semi-regularly, which obviously needs to be addressed. But Justin Trudeau has the ability to literally go up to Pierre, even if he doesn't have a security clearance, and say, hey, dude, you know, X, Y, and Z MP is being targeted by China, by India. You need to do something about this, right? Like, put our stuff aside. We're not going to make this public behind closed doors. Like, come on, dude. Like, you know, this is going to tank our democracy. Don't do this, right? Like, if that discussion happened, and it very well can happen without Justin Trudeau having a security, or without Pierre Poilievre getting this security clearance that Trudeau wants him to get, then the situation would be mitigated. That's why there hasn't been any action taken, right? It's all just words. It's all just buzzwords and keywords and headlines right now, but there hasn't been any action taken. And, you know, this could very well come back and bite me in the ass. Like, I could be eating my words and have to make a retraction if action does get taken. But nonetheless, there hasn't been any action. And Justin Trudeau's going around saying, I've known about this for years. That the Conservative Party is, you know, they're affected by foreign interference. Okay, well, there's two sides. Are they the ones that are acting with, you know, the interest of foreign entities gaining something, or are they being targeted by other countries, right? There's like, that's a pretty big difference. But we got another clip here, folks. This is just craziness.
Speaking more substantively now in terms of what intelligence is brought to your attention specifically, there's been a lot of discussion in the Commission's proceedings, you may know, about whether or not certain intelligence has reached you, certain information, and whether it should have. And there's also been a lot of discussion about the vast universe of intelligence and information that's out there. One figure we've heard is 70,000 products produced by or published by the Canadian intelligence community per year. So assuming you're not going to read the 70,000, and though not all 70,000 will come into your attention, what is it that you expect to see? What is it that you need to see as Prime Minister?
I need to see information that is germane to my role as Prime Minister. And that means things that are directly impacting or threatening Canadians, things that are linked to particular policy decisions we need to make as a government, whether in an approach to a particular issue or region of the world or indeed country, or whether it's looking at improvements that need to be made in our national security legislation or agencies, things where there are perhaps gaps highlighted or tools that would be necessary to act on to combat new threats around disinformation and misinformation that certainly nobody was thinking of 20 years ago to the same degree, or information that's particularly germane if I'm going to a G7 or a NATO meeting or a G20 where I will be interacting with various leaders. Are there things that I need to know about them that are relevant for our interactions or our potential interactions? I guess in general, I mean, I have to trust, and I do, the intelligence officials, and more specifically, my national security and intelligence advisor, to make determinations on what it is that I need to see as a summary, what I need to see as a full analysis, or what I might even need to see in raw intelligence. And over the years of working with NSIAs, I would say that they have gotten very good at knowing what it is that I already know about, what it is that I'm particularly interested in and I'm going to ask more questions about, and what it is that I really should see the raw intel and an evaluation of the source is it's a single source but reliable, or a single source and somewhat unreliable, but the information is so explosive that you should have it in your brain. That sort of frame is very much why I have a national intelligence and security and intelligence advisor, to be able to know, okay, the PM already knows about, you know.
Okay, so I need to stop it again. You have Trudeau bragging about having a national security and intelligence advisor. It's already been stated publicly by ACCUSES, the RCMP, and I think even the PMO's office have all agreed that there's 11 MPs right now that are guilty of potentially treason, or never mind potentially. I'm pretty sure they are guilty of treason and have been complicit in foreign interference, right? 11 MPs. We assume that they're liberals. Justin Trudeau, it's almost like he's trying to make it out to seem like some of these are conservatives. But again, based off of the last clip that we just played, Justin Trudeau also admits that they are victims of attempted foreign interference. Like, the Conservatives haven't actually committed any treason yet, which is why no actions have been taken. And so all of this it's just craziness, man. Like, these are just smoke and mirrors on the day off from Parliament being out. Like, I just, it's so suspicious. Not to sound like conspiratorial, but it seems like Trudeau is reaching deep down into, you know, a magician's hat for a Hail Mary, and he's pulling out these wild accusations, picking fights with India, pulling out these accusations, and nothing has ever been acted on. I wonder why.
The point of this document, we don't need to give him the full document. I can simply apprise it on him, and he can spend his time digging into these other more relevant or newer pieces of information that will complete his understanding of the threats and realities faced by Canada and Canadians.
Okay, so the primary responsibility then for making sure that you do have what you need to know, and maybe don't have what you don't need to know, or that you don't spend your time on the wrong things, that falls to the NSIA, as you've said.
I would say the primary repository of those decisions is the NSIA, but there are a number of others who will flag that. Sometimes it's my foreign policy and defense advisors, Patrick Travers, or others in my office who will see a larger range of information than I do, because they have a specific task on that one area, whereas I'm covering all policy areas for this country. They will dig in and say, okay, the PM really should see this because it's particularly relevant for these reasons that are perhaps not, perhaps more political reasons that the NSIA, looking at it from an official lens, wouldn't have. In some cases, the clerk of the Privy Council will flag things for me, or the director of CSIS in meetings with him, he will say, no, you really should follow up on this or that. But in general, the filter through which everything goes is the NSIA, with whom I need to have a very close relationship, with whom I do, and a bond of not just trust in the judgment that she puts forward on what I should see or what I shouldn't see, but she needs to have a pretty good idea of the things I know about, the things I need to know more about, and the things that are going to be of particular interest or importance to me.
That's
Okay, so that is also kind of concerning. The fact that there's somebody making these decisions for Justin Trudeau, and we don't know what their level of corruption is. If you're the prime minister, your brain, if you're the leader of a country, your brain has to work at a level that is kind of above normal, above average. You should be able to look at an immense amount of data that's presented to you and make calculated decisions. That's why you're in that situation. That's why you're in that position, in those shoes of being prime minister or president or the leader of a country. You should be able to look at a lot of information and then come to a conclusion and make a decision. And the fact that you have these people that are constantly coming out as being corrupt, right? Providing Justin Trudeau with, like filtered information. I mean, it just, that part I'm not understanding. Maybe I'm taking it out of context, but nonetheless, I feel like that was a weird thing to admit. I feel like Justin Trudeau should maybe have access to a little bit more of the information. He's a freaking leader of the country. I'm not saying that he should, hey, did you see that Mr. Sunshine Baby made a new video? Look at this, Trudeau. Like, obviously not, right? But, little things like that doesn't really matter. But when it comes to national security, yeah, dude, he should probably be presented with like the entire portfolio. And I get it. I get that maybe that's too much, right? Like maybe that someone's job should be to consolidate everything and present it in a more consumable way. But nonetheless, that's just my opinion in this moment. And then we have this other video here where he just goes on a rant about Pierre Poilievre and how he should get his security clearance.
Because I am Prime Minister and privy to all these informations, I have the names of a number of parliamentarians, former parliamentarians and/or candidates in the Conservative Party of Canada who are engaged or at high risk of, or for whom there is clear intelligence around foreign interference. And I have directed ACCUSES and others to try and inform the Conservative Party leader to be warned and armed to be able to make decisions that protect the integrity of that party, of its members, from attempts at activities around foreign interference. And the decision by the leader of the Conservative Party to not get those classified briefings means that nobody in his party, not him, and nobody in a position of power knows the names of these individuals and can take appropriate action. It also means nobody's there to stand up for those individuals if the intelligence is shoddy or incomplete or just allegations from a single source. And that is something.
Wait, hold on a second. Did Justin Trudeau just admit that he can fling mud at the Conservative Party and they have to take it? He can make all of these allegations that the Conservative Party is guilty. There's members that are guilty of treason. At least that's how the media is trying to spin it. And there's nothing that Pierre can do about it because he hasn't had his security clearance. That's insane. That also is a dictatorship. That's not a democracy. You can't. You are not allowed in a freaking fair democracy to try to silence your political opponents through false allegations that are claims of treason. Like, we're not talking about, the carbon tax, discussion. Do you get more money than you put in? Do you get more money back than you put in? We're talking about actual treason. Like, people used to be hung for this, right? Out in public, not that long ago, like 50, 60, 70 years ago, maybe even closer than that. Like, that's crazy for Justin Trudeau to have just made that claim that he just did. Oh my goodness.
Thing that as you've seen, we are ready to question intelligence when it comes towards the Liberal Party members, because we need to make sure if you're going to end someone's career, you're doing it in a responsible way. The decision of the leader of the Conservative Party to not receive the necessary clearance to get those names and protect the integrity of his party is bewildering to me and entirely lacks common sense. Particularly when you look at the NCCOP report that clearly lays out, the public NCCOP report that clearly lays out that in both of the most recent Conservative leadership races, there was foreign interference. The fact that there seems to be absolutely no curiosity or openness in trying to figure out what happened, or whether someone was compromised, or whether a foreign country impacted those leadership races, is simply irresponsible. The fact that we see, and I'm getting a little more partisan than I've tried to in this case, but it is so egregious to me that the leader of the official opposition, who is certainly trying very hard to become prime minister, is choosing to play partisan games with foreign interference and accusations around foreign interference, but not taking it the least bit serious as regards to his own responsibilities as party leader, or even to get top officials within his party briefed up as they bring on candidates from across the country, is inexplicable and, quite frankly, concerning. So stepping back from that, our recommendation, and certainly one of the things that is alluded to in some of these reports, and certainly the Commission's work can be, is to indicate that it would probably be pretty important that, as a matter of course, party leaders, certainly of the main political parties, maybe not the Marxist-Leninist candidate that runs against me every election in Papineau, but certainly the main political parties, be given security briefings and clearances that allow them to respond to the very real threats that we have seen of foreign interference in their parties, and that top officials at the party level, as Jeremy Broadhurst was by dint of his day job in my government outside of the campaign period, was able to take that information and discuss with me the consequences that should be meted out, or whether action should be taken or not. It is, I think, a vulnerability to foreign interference that we have as a democracy that some party leaders have decided not to get access to some names that would be very germane for them to at least know and understand the risks around.
Wow, that's a lot to swallow here. That's a lot to take in, man. This is crazy. This is crazy what's going on. Pierre needs to respond immediately. Justin Trudeau is making a lot of claims and allegations, and I think we're only going to know more as, you know, the day kind of unravels itself. So make sure that you're subscribed and turn those post notifications on so you can stay notified, because we might have not only one more video, but we might have two more, depending on how severe and how many updates come out about this. But I'd love to know your opinions down below in the comments. Is this looking bad for Pierre? Is this a nothing burger? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a later video. Bye for now.